is a book about plant families, lots of different families of plants. One of the families is the rose family. Most people are familiar with roses, but a lot of folks don't recognize that roses include apples, pears, cherries, plums, prunes, peaches, nectarines, apricots, almonds, blackberries, raspberries, loganberries, all in the rose family. And the strawberry we'll talk about at a later time about its uniqueness. Not the most attractive rose you've ever seen, but this is a rose from the garden. And it's not a typical rose in that it has been hybridized and specialized over centuries to improve the plant by human definition. The improvements from a human perspective would be many more petals than you would normally see in nature. So we're not going to count the petals, but we're going to pluck them off. Theoretically, they would be multiples of 5. The wild rose in nature has 5 petals. Roses from your garden have many more than 5. These green structures, each is called a sepal. In the rose family there are 5, and they cover the developing flower, usually the petals of this white rose that we're using as an example here. We've removed the petals, and you can see the 5 sepals that used to protect the petals, and the inner parts of the flower designed for reproduction. 5 sepals in the rose family. This is a rose flower with the petals removed, and we can see many stamens on the top of these little cream-colored filaments. You can see this little dark anther. That's the structure that produces pollen. We can remove some of these stamens and get a better look at a center portion of the flower, which is the place which receives pollen, traditionally from another plant. These are stigmas. That's the female part of the flower. And they will carry the pollen, which has germinated on the surface, down into the ovary at the base. We're going to slice through the ovary of this rose. See what we can find inside. We can see the extensions of each of these stigmas. The style portion follows down into the center portion of the rose, and at the end of each one will develop a seed. So we'll end up with many, many seeds inside of this developing fruit. The rose flower itself, among all the different rose species, is pretty much the same. There's not a lot of variation in the 5 petals, the 5 sepals, the many stamens, the stipules at the base of the leaves. Those are fairly consistent. The real diversity of the rose family is the fruits. Here's a sample of some fruits from Rosaceae, a very large family. The apple, also a fruit. We can notice that this is where the flower parts used to be. They're all dried up and out of the picture. But what remains and becomes huge is the fruit itself. Now the old ovary, you can just see a little line inside. The fleshy receptacle of the old flower remains and is enlarged. So the fruit portion here represents the old ovary with numerous seeds inside. So we're familiar with an apple, but we didn't really know that it's portions of the old flower on an apple tree. This is a raspberry. you can see the aggregate of individual little fruits. So this really has one seed inside of a fleshy covering multiplied by maybe 100 or so parts to this raspberry. There you go. That's an individual fruit of the raspberry. This fleshy part of the strawberry you might think is the fruit. It's not really the fruit. The fruits are these tiny little structures on the surface. The fruit itself is not this fleshy receptacle. That's just an old portion of the original flower, and the fruits are really these tiny structures. Within each fruit is one tiny seed. So on the surface of a strawberry, those are the seeds surrounded by a tiny fruit. It's called an achene. So this is really numerous achenes surrounded by the old receptacle from the flower. Okay, on my fingertip, you can see I've placed the true fruit of a strawberry removed from the surface of that red, tasty receptacle. And just below it is the true fruit from a raspberry, removed from the little fleshy sphere that protected it. Inside of each of these fruits is one tiny seed. So the true fruit of these berries is a little different than what you might have suspected. I'm on my way to Windmill Farms. We're going to check out members of the rose family inside this store. This is a fun place. Aroma therapy, essential oils, right here in the middle for $18.25. This large economy size rose oil. Incredibly important for feeling wonderful once you get past the $18.75. Prostate health. If you look at the fine print, rosemary. Bible-based plant food extract. I'm feeling much better already. Rose hips. Red raspberry leaves, good for all that ails you. Peach passion, cranberry apple zinger, raspberry zinger, almond sunset to enhance the flavor of tea. Watch out, Coca-Cola. Here comes Jones Soda Company from Canada. We've got green apple soda, strawberry lime soda. Here we go. Very popular spice, rosemary. These are leaves that are very strong scented and strong flavored as a spice. Fresh off the rose bush, rose hips. Apple cider vinegar. And up here, almond oil. Home style applesauce. Peach slices, apricot halves, pear halves, all cut up and canned. Strawberry flavored ice cream, of course. And sherbet, flavored with raspberry. Turkish apricots, right next door. Pitted prunes, regular customers appreciate prunes. Cherry, vanilla granola, almond granola. Dried fruit from the rose family, popular. Peaches, pears, apricots. Lots of good juices. Prune juice, ever popular prune juice. Apple, pear, strawberry, more black cherry, peach nectar, apricot nectar, sparkling cider, crisp apple, frozen sliced peaches, strawberries frozen. Look at the variation of apples in this section here. As if the apple's not tasty enough, they load it with nuts, put caramel on it, sell it for a little more. Blackberries, raspberries, strawberries. Almonds, raw. This is the start of it all. Here we are in the pear section. Nectarines. Lots of nectarines. Blackberry wine. Your favorite and mine. Here we are in the pie shop. Almond nut cake. Peach pie. Apple pie. As you can see, we saw members of the rose family all over the place in Windmill Farms. Okay, roses. We love them. Get rid of the apples. The lonely raspberry. Strawberries are left. I wonder if we can improve on this. I think this is an improvement. I'll bring my scientific instrument into action. Strawberry shortcake. Member of Rosaceae.